Hi guys, welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. It is Friday. It is the 24th of July. We are fast approaching Hajj, which means that only a couple of hundred, maybe 1,000 people are going to be allowed to go there due to a small little virus that Allah cannot handle. Well, anyway, welcome to the panel. Welcome to Allah. I'm sorry, I didn't see this just now. Hello, Allah. How are you doing this
You
week?
see, you've been saying all these things over the years. Stop smiling. I thought I'll come and be a panelist on your show. Okay, and it's coming up to Hajj, and I just wanted to warn you. You see, all those people that die at Mecca this year. If that's what I'm going to do to my own worshippers, you can't imagine what I'm going to be doing to you when I get my hands on you.
Okay, now you've been on the Gin and Tonic Show. Now I have to believe that you exist. Yeah, okay, you've convinced me. Oh goodness. All right. Well, we have the ultimate judge of everything here today. Welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the panel. We're without Rob today, who's on holiday, and I was lucky. I got mine like 3 weeks before Corona hit, so I was extremely lucky. I am somebody else today. I am Fred, because I've been acting up because this was the only one left that SC Dawah didn't know. So, and the funny thing is, StreamYard doesn't always show this avatar for some reason. I don't know why. Welcome to the people who are in the chat. Thank you, lovely people. And I hope that you are going to get, number one, entertained, number two, some information, and three, maybe some useful tips and advice. And I'm hoping that we're going to get some interaction. And this is Jack Black. You hit it on the nail. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. This is what. Who was it? I don't know. It was Mansour or Sabur or somebody said, "Yeah, you come here as an atheist with a silly picture." So we welcome the people in the chat. Thank you very much for being here. Remember, this is the Gin and Tonic Show. So the Gin and Tonic Show means that what we're trying to do is we're trying to help Muslims and non-Muslims alike to get some information on Islam. Now, we're trying to stay factual, we're trying to stay objective, we're trying to stay polite, and we're trying to let the Quran speak for itself. Now, we're not people who go into scholars, we're not people who go all the way into hadith. Yes, we do consult them, we know about them, but we think that the primary document, the primary text, the primary manuscript, the primary everything is the Quran. So usually we go to the Quran, and only if there's something unclear we go to the tafsir, and then if we need further information and we need to find out how this was being implemented by Muhammad, then we go to the hadith and the sirah, in other words the sunnah. But otherwise no. So what we do is we have three ways of interacting with us. Number one, either typing in the chat in the live show, or you come on the panel during the live show, or you watch it afterwards on the Gin and Tonic Show or the Facebook archive. I've stopped putting it into archive because there's simply too many shows. I used to do that when there were new topics that we were covering every single week. And then it was important to have this because you could always refer to them. If somebody else came along and asked a question, you could say, well, just go to the archive. And this is where we had most of our shows. But since we've done this, 10 years now, there are no new topics. So we're just regurgitating, or we're going into more detail into some, and we're just picking up the new trends as we go along. The thing is that we are a free speech channel. In other words, there's no censorship here. This is not like a normal Dawah channel. Like I was saying, I spend a lot of time now looking at SC Dawah. And this is the whole point, because I'm only looking at them because they censored me, because they applied this stupid censorship and stopped me from commenting there. This is why I'm now doing it in video form. So I'm just saying, Krishna, loved your video on SC Dawah discussion. I was surprised to see Sabur asking, what have you published? Has he published anything, I wonder? I don't know. And this is the whole point. What is happening at the moment, just so people understand, I've used up all my channels because SC Dawah, and I've showed the email that they sent me saying that all my channels are blocked on all their channels. So I can't go to EF Dawah, SC Dawah, and blah, 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 I don't know who else. So I'm not, if there's Adnan or what's this other guy, Ali or something, I'm not allowed to comment on any of those because they are so shit scared. And this is why when I went on last Saturday, I used up one that has been released by YouTube, which they blocked, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, because I used to have quite a successful channel until I was no longer under the radar. And then people started paying attention and they closed me down. And from those days, I was banned, and now they released this again. This is why suddenly I have this stop spamming email again as Fred. So there we go. So I went on SC Dawah as Fred, and I had an interaction with the six panelists, and this was highly frustrating. But the thing is, I'm trying to be polite, okay? Because there's no point just going there and screaming at them. So I tried to stay polite, but there was one really obnoxious guy. Well, I just said, listen, just shut the fuck up, because there's no point in listening to you, because he's just saying, well, abiogenesis doesn't happen, and biogenesis is a fact, and that's it. Well, okay, cool. Let's talk about it. But he started shouting, and I just left it. And then Subor took over because he came back after he prayed. And what happened, this was a 4-hour show. And they put it out as call in live and were you created and why. So then I joined and they told me, well, I'm the last caller and we're going to finish, telling me that I had a couple of seconds. And so I just delivered my 30 seconds and I thought, okay, that's it. But then this turned into a 1 hour. I don't know what to call it. It was not a discussion. It was not a dialogue. It was, I don't know what it was. And then they published this and they changed the title and they called it, what was it? The something with though, ending though or something. Like the quid pro quo, the Trump ending, I'd like to ask you a favor though. And this is exactly what they said. And then what they did is they took the last hour, which was exclusively with me, and they published it as a separate video, where they put the title there, Subur clashes with atheist stop spamming. That's nonsense. Anyway, I put out a comment video where I'm trying to appeal to Muslims to just use their brain and to explain what it was that I was trying to get across before I was constantly being interrupted. Like Subur always tells me, yeah, I'll give you the mic for 1 minute. And then as soon as I start speaking, he interrupts. So this didn't last very long. And then he came up with this usual thing that he always does. I mean, I've never heard him do anything else but, say so-and-so said this, and therefore this must be the case, which is bullshit, okay? And I then took one of his quotes where he said, Professor Rosenberg said in his words this and this and this. And Professor Rosenberg came back in an email and said no. So I then looked at what they were really saying. And I found that Professor Rosenberg never mentioned anything like that. Other people, like Professor Roper, he said blah, 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 something about zebras with machine guns, but he was referencing another source. Now, Subur doesn't have the brain to do that, okay? He looks at something, just remembers something wrong, and then he will get this out. So I checked this, and it was wrong. It was somebody completely else who said this in 81 or something. And I'm showing that this is totally useless. So if an apologist comes to you, a Muslim apologist, and says, okay, so-and-so said this and this, especially if it's in a debate, especially if it's in a program, an online, stream or something, it's useless. Tell them to go and get stuffed. Or tell them, okay, well then show me the book, what page, where is it, let's go take a look. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And this is exactly what we saw. And this is what happened now with SC Dawah, and this is what all the buha is about at the moment. Now, what I had to do is I had to do this on the Fred Manning channel because this is the only one that they didn't know yet. So but there's nothing there. There's no subscribers. There's no videos. There's nothing. And then I copied this over into the Speaker's Corner Analyzed channel. But this is not something that Muslims will know. So it's a bit difficult to get through to Muslims at the moment, which is why, and this is exactly what Krishna is saying now, I invited everybody to join the show here and to discuss this if they want. And they get their say. I'm not going to interrupt them. I'm not the one who's going to do that. I've invited, I mean, if you want entertainment, and I think I'm going to bring this back again because Rob suggested, why don't we bring back like comments of the week or something? Because they are hilarious. If you want entertainment, go to this last video that I mentioned, which says Sabur clashes with atheists or something, on the SC Dawah channel. If you want entertainment, just look at the comments. The comments are really hilarious. It's amazing what simpletons we have there. It is amazing what level of ignorance you see there. It's really, it's wonderful. And this is the thing that it's, I don't know, I've not had a single argument come from a Muslim where I would have said, I need to think about this. And I don't understand why this is. I don't understand why they can't come up with something that is really compelling. They've had 1400 years, for crying out loud. And they can't find a single coherent, compelling argument that would say Islam gives you the benefit because it blah, blah, blah. It doesn't. They're always saying, yeah, it's the way of life, it's the best, it gives you all the answers, but they never give you the stuff. Like if I ask them a question, they can't answer. So then it's my fault. I'm the Islamophobe. I'm asking the wrong questions. You need to presuppose that God exists, and then God will give you the answers. Well, I don't fucking care what God tells me. I want to know from the people, because God doesn't talk to me. They have to tell me, and they won't. So, okay, that was my rant. So what we've done is we've said we are the nice people. Yes, we are the nice people, and if anybody wants to come and join, they're welcome to do so. And we will, I don't care. We can give Muslims a platform. If they want to say something, go ahead. Next week, remember, we're going to have an introduction to Shias. So I need to verify that this is still going to happen. But I hope it is, because that would be really great. And then we can see what we do with the rest of the show if we still have time. So let's go to the news. I've got 4 items. I don't know, Thunder, do you have... Oh, sorry, Allah, do you have any news that you can contribute? Or is there anything that you found this last week?
Well, in the past week, I found a video on YouTube by Zakir Naik.
Really?
Yeah, it was something that's been uploaded in the past couple of weeks because.
Okay, Thunder, can you tell us about this? Because I've just realized I left my coffee under the machine. Just go and tell us about it. I'll go get the coffee.
Yeah, what it is, Zakir Naik has actually done a video response to various Christian identities that have, over the past few years, openly challenged him about why he won't debate them. Because anybody who knows anything about Islamic apologetics, you'll find that very few Muslims, if any, will actually debate anybody of any credibility. I call them like the Mike Tysons of the debate world. During their prime, they, like Mike Tyson, never fought anybody of any credibility. And when Mike Tyson did fight anybody of credibility, he came unstuck, which is pretty much the technique of most Muslim debaters. But he put out a video with reference to Sam Shamoon. I'm sure many of you that are listening to the show will know who Sam Shamoon is. And if not Sam Shamoon, you'll most definitely know who David Wood is. And both of them have, over the years, several times offered Zakir Naik a debate. Now, he's put out a response saying that he won't debate them, because he doesn't think that they're of any caliber, of any high intelligence or any intellectual degree. They won't gather sufficient crowds for him to attend to enter the debate, which I found to be just a myriad of reasons, cowardly reasons, to not want to debate anyone. This is supposed to be the greatest Muslim debater who, as it happens, doesn't debate anybody. So, yeah, and I thought it was quite an interesting video to watch. I would certainly suggest it to anybody else. But what was interesting in that was not just listening to the excuses that Zakir Naik was offering as to why he won't debate David Wood or Sam Shamoon or anybody else, but the comments underneath as to what the Muslims were saying. And if anybody has seen the David Wood versus Muhammad Hijab debate would know that between the two, David Wood clearly came off the better. And if for nothing else, Muhammad Hijab broke into songs, singing some of the Quranic verses to get the crowd on his side, that were the Muslims. But also he confessed in there with or without realizing that Muhammad prays for, Allah prays for Muhammad. And when you're looking at the comments underneath Zakir Naik's video, all you see is the Muslims, Muhammad Hijab beat him, Muhammad Hijab destroyed him, Muhammad Hijab retired him, and all these kind of typical Muslim tropes and cliches. So the comments were worth reading. So that's the only news I've come up with this week as far as Islam is concerned, as well as spending my time watching other people debate Muslims, and particularly Speaker's Corner, because I don't spend much time watching videos on Speaker's Corner, but I have done that this week, not so much to listen to Christians debating Muslims, but looking at the attitude of Muslims when they're backed up into a corner, how they suddenly start yelling, how they start shouting, how they get belligerent, and how they start as well threatening with physical violence. And for a religion that's supposed to be peaceful and tolerant and inclusive, you've only got to watch Muslim Dawahists or proselytizers to see they are anything but peaceful. They're just wild animals, and they're very much like rats. You know, you corner one and all the other rats come out of the woodwork from somewhere. I mean, let's face it, they breed like rats anyway, so calling Muslims rats, I don't find it quite offensive. I think their personality traits and their way of life is very, very similar to rats anyway. They breed like rats, and wherever rats manifest themselves, the area becomes something somewhat dirty, smelly, and they ruin the local area populace, which is what rats do. And I find that when Muslims take over certain areas of a town, and that Muslims tend to do very much the same thing. They ghettoize areas, they smell it out. They're untidy, they're unclean, they're unkept. They don't have a particularly pleasant appearance. And when you look at Bengali and Pakistani Muslims, they're not the most handsome of people, let's face it. You know, I've dated a couple of Pakistanis in my time, and they tended to shave.
I know you're Allah, but come on. This is, I mean, if somebody were to say this about you. What?
Well, I'm only being honest.
Yeah, but there's one thing about being honest. But if you say things like this is not. Come on. I mean, this is not our level. This is not the level that we stoop to. If other people do that, if other people say that. Yeah, but this is not nice what you said, really. This is not our level. This is not what we do. We don't go and attack people just because they smell different or something. That is definitely not something that we should be saying on this show. If we have any facts, if we have anything that works, yeah, that's fine. But I don't think that we should go into personal attacks about how they look, about personal traits. I don't think that is something that we should be doing. I mean, yeah, okay, it's sort of a free speech. You can say that, but I don't think that you should. This is not our style. This is not our level, I think.
I'd make a retraction. I was trying to be facetious for the time that he was away. But having that being said, on the part of Ali Dawah and such, I was watching that this week and just watching how belligerent they were. And it's quite interesting just to see what the moment that you expose them or challenge them with any kind of logic or any kind of factual history, whether it be historical, scientific, just how the belligerence suddenly flares up. I mean, I haven't actually.
Okay, this is that's a different kind of argument, and here I agree that it seems very difficult to get any kind of factual argument from an Islamic apologist. This is very difficult. We all know that, and that is where we should stop. Okay, Can we agree on that?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. All right, then to carry on in the news, I don't know if you remember is it years now, months now? It was a couple of months ago. There was a girl in France who was accused of blasphemy by Muslims. So what happened is that some Muslims went and got her personal data, put it out on the net, and said, well, now see what kind of a punishment you will be getting and receiving. And now the prosecutor in France, in Vienne, in the southeast, says that 3 teens were now actually charged after this. And she's a schoolgirl, all right? She's not, this is just a girl, all right? After she received death threats for insulting Islam. And all she did is she just made a remark on Instagram, and that went viral. So they doxed her. And even the president, even Macron, came out and said that the right to blaspheme was enshrined in the constitution. So this is not something that you can do. And these 3 Muslims were now prosecuted because they were threatening her life. So maybe this is a good enough signal for people to show, yes, you are in a free country, allowed to say whatever you want about Allah, about Muhammad, about everything. So this is 100%.
Which country was it stopped several years ago where a school teacher in, I think it might have been a primary school in one of the African countries where she named...
It was Sudan.
Was it Sudan? Named the teddy bear Mohammed.
This was in Khartoum itself, yeah.
You know, so and that wasn't even an insult to Allah or Muhammad. That was just simply using the name, which is probably the most common Muslim name there is, and naming a teddy bear, an inanimate object, Muhammad, which would probably be a name that was in existence before Muhammad was born himself.
Yeah.
To name the teddy bear Muhammad was something that people had to die over.
It is amazing, isn't it? Yeah, and they went to the streets to protest this just because a little kid calls a teddy bear Muhammad.
Was it Nigeria as well? I remember this is the one that really stuck out to me. Where in Nigeria, I think they held the Miss World there. This has got to be about 20 years ago, maybe more so. And a comment was made that if the Prophet Muhammad was alive now, he'd marry one of these women. Now, that's actually an honest statement. He probably would have done, if not all of them. And riots broke out and 18 people died.
Yeah.
Just for making a simple statement like that. You know, an honest and innocent statement. If anything, when you analyse it, it would have probably been quite a complimentary comment to make, not a negative one. We were talking about the most beautiful women on the planet, obviously subjectively at the time. So,
this was really stupid. Hang on, I'm just getting, did we already discuss the stupid Dawah team debate? Well, not really, no, because I don't really want to do that. I just gave a 30-second summary just to explain what all the boo-ha is about at the moment. But I don't think that we should solely... Actually, you've got a point, because this is Dawah in action, and this is exactly Dawah in action. So what I should do, actually, is go and see if I can find a link to the channel where I put it. Okay, let me just give you... I don't know if people even know about this. I've got a channel which is called Speaker's Corner Analyzed. All right, let me let me put the videos up here, and I'll put the link in the chat. And there I have a whole playlist full of stuff of SC Dawah. And if you want to, like I said, if you want to, should I give you the link to the SC Dawah video? Because really, this is hilarious. If you need entertainment, if you want to really laugh, I think I'm going to lift a couple for the next week's show to go and reinvigorate the comment of the week. Because remember, we used to have the segment for comments, like really crazy comments, and we sort of stopped this when it was winter, because there were no more what you would call it, shows. There was nothing going. All right, so this is the video. And it's a 1 hour video. So, I mean, there's definitely no way we're going to look at this here. Let me put this in here as well. Paste, clack. So this is an ad now for SC Dawah. So if you want to go to SC Dawah, then you go to this video and you just look at the comments. Forget about the video itself. I mean, that is sad. But the comments are what is crazy. And this is why I think some of these comments are so crazy that we should bring them back here. So it's wonderful. It's really wonderful if you want some entertainment. But if anybody wants to know what happened, okay, it was about creation, and I said no. What is creation? Is putting two pieces of Lego together? Is that creation? Is putting the space shuttle together? Is that creation? We first need to define what creation actually is. Is creation only taking pieces of wood and making a wooden bench, like rearranging molecules? Or is creation really only about a human body? So if I look at my creation, because we haven't solved this, all right, we don't know what creation actually is until we define it. We can't really talk about it. But remember, I thought I was there for 30 seconds and that's it. So then I said, well, my creation, I was created by my parents having sex, the fusion of two cells, and there were no supernatural beings detected, and that's it. That's basically it. And now Mansour said, yeah, but where did the pieces where did the matter come from that you were created from? And I thought that has nothing to do with it. But then I thought, no, hang on, actually it has, because if I claim I wasn't created, the matter must have come from somewhere. So I was created from this matter. Where did this matter come from? All right. So I said, instead of saying, no, this is not part of the whole deal, I'm not going to, let's not go off track. I answered it. And I said, well, they always existed. Because I maintain that all elements, all matter, came into being with the universe. And as long as the universe created different kinds of elements in stars, in whatever natural processes we have, this is what contributed to my person. And the special and specific and unique, what do you want to call it, arrangement of these molecules gives me my personality. And that is what I think. And that is what I tried to tell them. And they said, well, no, then what is your personality? And this is not, and the matter is not there. And I said, and then they said, well, how do you know that you're not being created? I said, well, if you look at the claims of Allah being the perfect God and the best of all creators, if you have can you discredit this? I said, yes, I can discredit this, because if I look at the human body, if I see the failing legs, failing arms, failing eyes, failing ears, failing this, penis too small, boobs too small, this too small, this one, this shows that you cannot, this doesn't match with a perfect best of creator. So the claim in the Quran cannot be in any way justified, and that doesn't compare with reality. And they didn't like that. Then they said, I'm claiming for perfection. I said, no, I'm not claiming perfection. I'm just saying it should be adequate. It should be, and then I gave the example, and I said, look, if I take a broken hip, I think that a person with a functioning hip is better off than a person with a broken hip. So if a person is created with a broken hip, that means that the creation failed. The creation of the creator. The creator failed if I compare other hips to my hip. So if my hip fails at the age of 50 or something, and I see other hips still working at the age of 80, then this is obvious that my hip was not created properly. This is not appealing to perfection. This is just appealing to an adequate level of creation. And if this is not met, then this is a failing of the creator. Then this creator is incompetent. Right. That was all I said. And for some reason, they did this for 1 hour. I don't know. And then, yeah, okay, this is thinking clearly, exactly. Okay, you obviously you went through the whole thing. Did I ever consider that these deficiencies are part of a design? Also, perfection is up to the creator, not up to Fred. Because what they were arguing now, that this is all part of the test. that if I am born with a deficiency, then this is a test. So in other words, a child with a brain tumor is a test. Now, I'm not sure whether it's for the children or whether it's for the parents or whether it's for the health system or what the test is actually supposed to do. What is it testing? What is the result? Especially if the result is already known. And this is the point.
Yeah, just on what you're saying there about people with a brain tumor or a child born with some kind of physical or mental disability, as many children are in this day and age, the test by implication cannot be for the victim, because in many instances they're not even aware of their own problems. So
exactly.
For the test to be logical, the person has to be aware of what the problem is in order to deal with the test, as it were.
Yeah.
If you're not aware of what the problem is, then how can it be a test for you?
And this is what thinking clearly is saying. Allah's incompetence is a sign of his perfection. Anyway, so this was the whole thing. This is the whole point. What irritated me, what really pissed me off, is Sabur, because Sabur can't argue. Right? He can't argue to save his life. So all he can do is, instead of stringing together a coherent argument, he just goes and says, well, so-and-so said this and this. Now, luckily, luckily, of course he was wrong. So luckily somebody actually found this and made me do a little bit of research. So I went and checked, did this person really say that? Now, I did this in the evolution video, where he claimed so-and-so said this and this. And every single time I checked it, I found, no, they didn't. Number one, he didn't understand it. And number two, he even understood the opposite of what this person was saying that he was quoting. So he really had no clue what he was doing. Now, with Rosenberg, this wasn't quite so bad. He just simply didn't say it, even though he said twice. He said, Rosenberg said, and he said, in the words of Rosenberg. So he was 100% saying, this is a quote. It's not true. He didn't say that. Somebody completely else 40, 50 years ago said this, or made a reference to something similar, not even saying what Sabur was saying, and definitely not with the with the result, with the conclusion, because his conclusion was this is a slippery slope. Nobody said that. So he's fabricating stuff, deceiving Muslims. Now, the problem is that Muslims hear him saying, in the words of Rosenberg, he said this and this and this, indicating that this is a slippery slope that you can't go on. Yeah, well, excuse me. Number one, he didn't say it. Number two, the slippery slope was nowhere mentioned by anybody anyway. This is a fabrication by Sabur, misquoting somebody else, quote mining somebody else, who doesn't know what the fuck is going on. And this is what Muslims don't realize. They don't check this. They will go, oh, Sabur quoted a philosopher. Now, this is the most important point here. This is the lesson that we need to take away from this. Muslims have been failing for the last 1400 years in bringing across any kind of a cogent argument for Islam. Now, they've tried for the last 50 years, trying science, trying blatant lies and things like that. Now they realize that this is not working. So what they're doing now, they're seeking refuge in philosophy, because they realize that in philosophy you can waffle a lot. In philosophy you can talk about all sorts of things until the cows go home without ever getting anything done. And this is why they're now turning to philosophy, because they think they can find people there that they can misquote who are then going to support their case. And this is not the case. We have to simply take them to task and say, look, I don't care about the philosophy, or I care about the philosophy, but the result needs to be something tangible. I always bring the example of a car standing on the garage floor, and 50 philosophers are standing around discussing the oil change. That's cool. That's calm. And yes, you need people to discuss the benefits of an oil change and how many miles between and how many this and how many and what kind of an oil can you mix, synthetic with natural and things. Yes, it is essential that we discuss these points before doing anything. But at the end of the day, it's the mechanic that comes and does the oil change. So we need to go and focus on the oil change, not on talking about the oil change. You can lead with that for the first 30 seconds and say, we need to discuss this and we need to be sure that we have the definitions in place. Absolutely. But then we have to go and say, okay, what are you going to do? This is the action is going to be there.
On the subject of the philosophy that Islam is using, it's also fair to note that you've also yourself found one of their sort of Dawah leaders in this country plagiarizing the philosophical arguments word for word and mannerism for mannerism, with William Lane Craig being imitated by Hamza Sources. And I think another appeal with reference to philosophy as far as Islam is concerned is because philosophy has a type of language to it. There's a certain expression to it. There's a certain vocabulary that's tied to it that is very intellectualized, in as much that the average person wouldn't understand the vocabulary being used. So it bamboozles those as and puts them on the point of, well, he must know what he's talking about because he's using very clever words or words that I don't understand. And that's another technique as well used to fool Muslims, is to bamboozle the mind by using the vocabulary that they don't understand. So it gives them the semblance of somebody that's being intellectual.
Correct. This is a good point that you're raising, because every second word now they're using is the epistemological consequences of what it is that you are talking. I don't know where they get this from. This is and Smile is actually correct. The preserved Quran argument is, now this is gone. So the factual claims are gone, and this is why they're doing what Allah is just saying. This is exactly the point. But what we need to do is we need to show, I caught Hijab out and he admitted to me that he was just acting, that this is just a show and that is all that he's doing. And this is the same what Subur is doing, this is the same what all these other guys are doing. And then you have somebody who really doesn't know what's going on, like Imran Hussein. He really has no clue. He thinks he's actually doing something good. And he really tries to find things, and then he comes up with presuppositionism.
Anyway. But just going back to the video about why Zakir Naik was not going to take the challenge of Sam Shamoon or David Wood as far as the debate is concerned. It's not so much the video that's of interest, it's the comments underneath. And you and I have both watched the David Wood versus Mohammed Hijab debate, and any discerning person would know, irrespective of whether you accept Christianity as a reality or not, or the Bible as reality or not, is not the point. You can clearly see that he won every argument along the way. And more prominently enough, in 2 points where Mohammed Hijab had to break out in song as one point, which I thought was a very, I'm on the back foot here, I've got the crowd emotionally tied to me now. And when he admitted that Allah prays for Muhammad, then when you look at the comments on what Zakir Naik was saying, and you see all the comments in one way or another basically saying the same thing, how Mohammed Hijab put David Wood into retirement, he lost, he's now on blah, blah, blah. and that shows you the mentality of the audience that you're dealing with and the dishonesty of the audience that you're dealing with. If on a monumental obviousness that Mohammed Hijab didn't win that debate, that is your response. So when you're getting Hamza Sources and of the like using an intellectual language from philosophy to try and win over the crowd, that kind of shows you what kind of audience they've got to play with in the first place. That says it all to me.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with you. This is exactly what Krishna is saying. Hamza was the first one who started this, I think. Because if you look at Ahmad Didat and Zakir Naik and those people, they were going along the lines of, let us confront Christianity, let us confront them with facts, let us try and get the scientific accuracy in there. And now people, Hamza went onto this and he jumped on this bandwagon, and then he realized, because I took him to task with this and I hit him really, really hard. And then when Hood Boy and Kraus and everybody, when they hit him so, like they killed him completely, he realized, I cannot get there. And he abandoned this whole idea, jumped ship and said, okay, I need to find something else. And then he went into this philosophy sort of direction. And this is exactly what he teaches in our era. This is the Dawah, these webinars that you see, and this is exactly what the wordplays, the quotes, and all this. This is what is drummed into them. But the thing is, yes, a lot of people are very good at memorizing. I mean, Sabua has a brilliant brain for memorizing stuff, but he is only taught these quotes. He doesn't understand them. He's like a parrot, just repeating the noise, the sounds, but without really comprehending the contents of what he is saying. So if you question the contents, he's very quickly out of his depth. And I caught another thing. Like, this is something I demonstrated as well. Sabua, what's his name? Mansour is somebody, if you go to the speaker's corner, you make any kind of statement about any kind of fact, and he will say, do you know about this? And you say, yes, do you? And then he will add, do you know about this? Because somebody asked him, have you heard of, I don't know, germ theory? And he will say, yes, of course, have you? Now, that indicates he has no clue. So what he's trying to do is get you to explain what it is to him so that he can then find an angle to go and address you on this. So this have you, I have learned, is his tactic of somehow getting his opponent to say something that he didn't really want to say. So when he used this on me, I was aware of that. So this was for me like, I clicked immediately and I said, whoa. Okay, explain it to me. Then he says, well, it doesn't involve, I don't know, Christmas trees or something. And he didn't know what it was. And I said, well, what is it? No, let's not talk about that. Let's go. He did not know what this is, because quantum field theory I find fascinating, and he has never heard of this. But these are the little tactics that you pick up after a while when you're watching videos from Speaker's Corner, and they all have their little things which give away their tactic which they're employing or deploying. So that's okay. That's it. I think we don't need to talk about this. If anybody wants to watch them, go watch the videos. I think they're quite funny. I think I made a 2-minute video fact checking him, just showing that he has no clue. And I think that's all there is to it. I'm going to try again tomorrow. I'll try. I don't know if I can. I suppose the one that I use now is going to be blocked, so I can't go using the same one again. I don't know. I can't even remember what the topic is for today if I want to go there. Anyway, so you see the result. You see in the comments, everybody, and you've seen some of the comments here. What people have been accusing me of, that I am mad at the design of Allah. If I don't believe Allah exists, how can I be mad at His design? Oh goodness, people. So and I told them, well, if it's so easy. Like they're all saying, yeah, you've been owned, you've been destroyed, you've been this, you're a stupid asshole. Well, if it's so easy, why don't you come here and talk to me? Why don't you come here, confront me with the stuff that you found which is wrong that I said? Come and talk to me. But they will not do it. They are cowards. They are big mouths when they're on their own videos. And notice this is another tactic. They're hiding behind others because they're saying, go and debate Zakir Naik. And I say to them, yeah, but hang on. If it's so easy, why don't you do it? Why are you hiding behind Zakir Naik if it's so easy? And they will not. They don't realize what cowards they really are. And another thing they don't realize is that the Quran actually commands them to go and defend Islam in 16:125. Because a lot of them say, I don't need to justify anything in front of you. And I say, well, yes, actually you do. And if you don't, you are ignoring the Quran. And then what I realized helps if I add, oh goodness, I don't want to be in your shoes on Judgment Day after what you've just done.
And just on that as well, I mean, for those who accept intelligent design or those who accept the biblical narrative, they actually present debaters who are willing to debate atheists. And for anybody that's ever watched a debate between, say, an atheist and somebody who advocates intelligent design, or an atheist and somebody who advocates biblical narrative, you have to be honest and say that those are good debates. Both of them present their arguments well. You will stick with the side that you went in to watch it, your motive for in the first place. So if you go in there as a pro-atheist, you're going to listen to your man and agree that your man won. That's just natural. However, when you're listening to a Muslim say, "Well, why do you debate Zakir Naik?" you really have to ask the question: why have you picked the worst possible person in the history of debates and said, "Let's
Correct.
have this guy"? This is the
Yeah.
guy that handpicks who he's going to debate. I mean, but often the argument is presented: well, he debated William Lane Craig and demolished him. Not William Lane Craig, William Campbell.
Yes. That
William
was the only
Campbell.
debate he ever had.
Yeah, and he's not even a debater; he's just an author.
Yeah.
And who did? And then
And
who
this,
did that?
sorry, Thana, before you go on, I just want to point something out. This comment by Smile, for example, does not show up on YouTube. So this is the censorship that you see on YouTube now. If you're saying I'm disgusted, then it is automatically being suppressed. This is not showing because I've got both comments running next to me, and this one is not showing up. So this is quite strange. Anyways, yeah. Sorry, carry on.
So it's like, for instance, they'll turn around and say things like, because I was brought up in the Ahmadiyyat era, that Ahmadiyyat debated this guy, this guy. For starters, you debated television evangelists. You didn't debate debaters. You didn't debate skilled debaters. So there's one point against. Second of all, you used arguments. Ahmadiyyat didn't even use Islamic arguments. He used arguments for anybody who doesn't know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses. They've been speaking about the Trinity being a false doctrine for over 100 years. So nobody's more skilled, has more knowledge about it. And I say this because your sister's a Jehovah's Witness, so you can have access to this information. They've been doing this for over 100 years. And when you listen to the arguments of a Muslim talking about 3 and 1, 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1, these are all arguments fronted by Jehovah's Witnesses. They steal the arguments of one Christian organization and use those arguments against people like Jimmy Swaggart and whatnot, hence why they end up looking stupid. But they're not even the Muslims' own arguments in the first place. So when you really analyze it, for instance, I know there's a comment in there, thinking clearly says, sorry, Thunderous, no arguments for intelligent design of God. Well, I'm going to differ on that one. Obviously, as somebody who supports intelligent design. But I've listened to debates between, say, John Lennox and Richard Dawkins. Now, it doesn't matter what your opinion on intelligent design is. You're always going to support atheism and whatever the atheist is going to propose. But the discussions are good. Both sides come with their point of view and they present them in a credible way that you can have respect for both points. But the Muslim can never do that. That's the point I'm trying to make. When you ever listen to a Muslim debate on any subject, the Muslim looks stupid. The Muslim argument looks weak and looks perverted or plagiarized. That's the point I'm trying to make in this discussion.
Yeah, and this is correct. I agree with you because they can't. There's no nuance in there. There's no way that they can look at different sides, and even they cannot get themselves to say, well, if it wouldn't be like that, it should be like blah 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 blah. They can't even get themselves to say that because that would be against their own doctrine.
Here's an argument. Here's as a demonstration. If an atheist is arguing somebody that proposes the biblical narrative, both of them will conclude, or you'd like to think the atheist would, that sex outside of marriage, whether it's right or wrong, sex, or say, for instance, having a multitude of sexual partners being brought up by different fathers, or morality, whether theft is wrong or lying is wrong, and that, both of them will come to a solid foundation. The atheist will say from the moral argument of evolution or whatever, the one proposing the argument for predicated on, say, the biblical narrative will then present an objective text. However, the Muslim can't present anything from Islam as far as a moral argument is concerned, because there is no moral argument in the Quran. The same thing can be said about history. If you had a historian bring in an argument about history and you had a Muslim presented an argument about history, the Muslim has no foundation. They can't prove when Mecca existed because there's no evidence of Mecca pre-Muhammad. They've got no records to prove even Muhammad existed. That's all conjecture. There are those arguments that present Muhammad was real. They sound good, but then when you listen to somebody who's presented an argument saying that Muhammad was not a real person, those arguments sound good. Then you look at the Quranic narrative as far as the history contained within itself. When it's talking about other religious texts, it gets them all monumentally wrong. When it's talking about other subjects, it's stealing them from stories and narratives that already pre-existed in other areas that are not considered religious texts. And then when it's talking about historical people and historical locations, they don't exist. Dulcarnain, where's the where's the brass covered iron mountain? Who was Dulcarnain? When it starts talking about science and the scientific argument presented to people as far as credibility is concerned, every scientific argument has failed. So it's failed on science, it's failed on history, it's failed on morality, it's now failed monumentally now as far as integrity is concerned, as far as text is concerned. The textual narrative has not been changed since the time it was written down, whenever it was ever written down.
The preservation claim, yeah.
The preservation claim is all gone now. It's finished.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now when you're saying that it's coming with a philosophical argument, it's now hiding Islam in language. It's hiding
Correct.
it by using big words, and what it is hiding it behind sophistry.
Correct. That's all. Yeah, that's where it is. And by the way, I've changed now to live chat. Thank you for that pointer. And I'm hoping that somebody's going to make a controversial comment again so I can compare if they're coming up on both. All right, let me just, Jesus Christ, time is flying when you're having fun. The second item I have is that thousands of Muslims screaming Allahu Akbar celebrate, now get this, the reconquest of the Hagia Sophia, the museum, like it has been since 1935. And now all of a sudden it's back into a mosque where, come on, we all know that right next to it there's another mosque. So there's no shortage of mosques in Istanbul. So this is a political ploy, okay? That's all it is. I would ask proof that there is a God instead of your God. Yeah, okay. Then Hagia Sophia, a former Istanbul museum. This is the headline, all right? And this is a headline, and I'm going to ask you whether Hagia Sophia, former Istanbul museum, welcomes Muslim worshippers. Where do you think this is? Former Istanbul museum welcomes Muslim worshippers. Which outlet do you think this was? Come on, Allah, you're supposed to know everything.
I haven't. No, I know most things, not everything. I don't know who Dulcarnain was.
What would you guess if you saw the headline, Former Istanbul Museum welcomes Muslim worshippers?
That'll be some mainstream media outlet, no doubt.
It's BBC News.
But yeah, they're mainstream. They just, I was just going to say Washington Post or something. But yeah,
how can they say welcomes Muslim worshippers? It's an atrocity. And they're making this sound like this is some nice gesture. It's BBC News.
Can you imagine what would happen if the Jews went and started to re-establish the Jewish temple just by the Dome of the Rock and having to take some of the Dome of the Rock away?
Yeah.
Can you imagine what narrative would there be?
Oh, this is so hypocritical. This is so false. Okay. Pakistan has threatened China's TikTok and has blocked the Singapore-based Bigo live streaming platform. Why? Because this is from the regulating authority. They call this an immoral, obscene, and vulgar content on these apps. That's why they're closing down a whole platform, because of immoral, obscene, and vulgar. Who cares? How can a government care about things like that? How can a government go ahead and say it's immoral, it's obscene, it's vulgar, and therefore we're closing down the entire platform? Oh man, this shows you how weak this system really is, really. Okay. Let us proceed to the reading of the Quran, and we're going to the Reader's Digest Quran. Let me close this, and then this should be, is this big enough? Can you read this?
What am I looking at? I'm looking at the YouTube channel at the moment. So if I look at StreamYard, no, it needs to be bigger. That's better. Yeah.
Hang on. But it's going down at the same time. Why is it going down at the same time? Yes. Why is it doing this? All right. So last time we did the Kama Sutra. Then we looked at follow my path, ignore others. No, this is what we're doing today. So last time we did the Kama Sutra, and now we're going on with 136. I hope. Are you going to follow along, or do you just want to see what I wrote, or do you, because what happens is I take the Quran and I look at chapter 6, I look at sentence 136, and this is usually quite long, and I don't go and look at the whole entire thing. I condense it. So this is what I call the Reader's Digest version. So what I do is I take the essence of what the sentence says and put this here. And if there's more people, we can go along and actually read the other translations. And we normally go and we compare Sahih and Sahih Muslim and Yusuf Ali, just to compare what they are saying. So we looked at do your thing and you will be rewarded, others won't. And I said study the Kama Sutra because it's do your thing is consider your position. So work on your position. And this is what I call study the Kama Sutra. And then we go to 136, which says Allah gets part of what they produce. I don't know why Allah needs to get a part of the crops or whatever it is that somebody produces. So if you produce sewing machines, if you produce 100, one of them goes to Allah. I don't know what he's going to do with the sewing machine, but that's how it works in the Quran. So Allah gets part of what they produce, but so do the other gods, because other gods also got their share. But Allah doesn't receive this, the other gods do. So that's bad. So you're not allowed to do that. Then their gods get them, in other words, the non-believers, the polytheists and others, to kill their children. Something Allah could have stopped if He wanted. Again, we had this theme, this idea, this concept several times now, that there's a whole lot of things that Allah says, well, if He had wanted, He could have done this. And this is such a cop-out. Thunder, if you want, Allah, if you want to jump in anytime, just go ahead, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I read this previously, and to be honest with you, I don't really think I have much to comment this week because it wasn't coherent for me. I couldn't make heads or tails of what I was reading or what was the point in any of this. It just seemed like a lot of jibber jabber gibberish that didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, there were a lot of sentences where I struggled, and I really spent time on this because I really didn't know what to make of this. So
I kept looking at this. I come back to the same points that I probably often repeat myself and bore the audience with, where I say, well, this book is uncreated and was alongside Allah for billions of years. So I'm reading 136 onwards to, I think I ended up at about 150. And I thought to myself, why would this be in heaven? And what would be the point? Where is the gain? Where's the religion? Where's the improvement? Because isn't that what we're supposed to do? And I found nothing in this. It all seemed to be all about Allah and His vanity and His narcissism, as opposed to any benefit for people that are worshipping Allah.
Yeah. And now it says cattle and crops are reserved. I don't know if you remember last time we saw that there are some, I don't know if you want cultural aspects or rituals where some animals are being marked as reserved for the sacrifice of the whatever god. Just to keep the gods happy, they sacrifice animals. I mean, people have been doing that for 50,000 years or something. So this is nothing unusual. They were still doing this 1,000 years ago. So cattle and crops are reserved, and no name of Allah is said over them. So Allah will punish them, the people who do that, I suppose. Because you have to, if you kill an animal before you want to eat it, you have to say Allahu Akbar or Bismillah or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't really say what you need to, but no name of Allah. Now Allah doesn't have a name. There's no name anywhere in the Quran. It has attributes. You can't kill a deer and say, well, you are the best of creators. This doesn't work, does it? Anyway, now, in 139, brilliant sentence. Only males, okay, now get this. Only males eat the belly contents except if it's dead. Now, I can't, I mean, if you confront a Muslim with that, what is he going to make of that? That a woman is not allowed to eat what is in the womb of another animal, but a man is. So if you have an unborn baby, a man is allowed to eat this unborn baby? This is crazy. And then they say they will be punished. Okay. Those who, no, I'm not going to comment on this. Those who invented lies about Allah, refused what was presented, and killed their children are lost. That's what he calls it. In the Quran, if you kill your children, you're just lost. It's not an atrocity or anything, it's just lost. You will be punished for all sorts of things, but not for killing your own children. And now comes the linguistic miracle of the Quran. 141 in chapter 6. He grows gardens, trellised and other than trellised. Now, I've never heard of this name, trellised. And I looked it up, and it's a structure of open lattice work. Now, I know trellis, but I've never heard trellised. So I looked it up, and it's just a structure of open lattice work, especially one used as a support for vines and other climbing plants. So, yeah, I was a bit struck by this wording, trellised and other than trellised. In other words, and you can see the other translations, trellised and non-trellised, and funny translations of this. But in the Quran, in the word for word, it says trellised and other than trellised. And plants, similar and other than similar. This is the linguistic miracle, okay? Similar and not similar, but it doesn't say not similar, it says other than similar. Okay, I don't know if this is due to poetry. I would have to ask Hassan on about this, whether there is some reason why it would be other than similar. Eat and pay on Thanksgiving. So you need to eat something and pay your due on Thanksgiving. I don't know what you're supposed to pay. Or some go and interpret this and say, well, give your zakat when it's harvest time. Okay, I don't know. The Quran doesn't say so. Don't be extravagant, since he does not like the extravagant. So this sentence is really a linguistic miracle. Cattle are for work and food. Eat and don't follow shaitan. It makes perfect sense. And now it gets, we all know that Allah has a problem. Sorry, not this Allah, the other Allah. Not this red V, the other one. He has a problem with arithmetic, with basic arithmetic. So the translators really have a tough time here, because it says 8 pairs or 8 head or 8 something, which is 2 sheep and 2 goats. Now, I don't know how. Some say, all right, actually he's talking about 2 pairs of sheep and 2 pairs of goats. It doesn't say so in the Quran, okay? But there's no way to, I don't know how you get 8 pairs. If you get 2 pairs of sheep, you still only get 2 pairs. You don't get to 8 pairs. So they change it to 8 heads, because then you have 2 pairs of sheep, which makes it 4, and 2 pairs of goats, which makes it 4. Then you get to 8, but you never get to 8 pairs. So Allah really has a problem with fractions. Okay, so you have the sheep and the goats. Are the males, and this is a question, are the males forbidden, or the females, or what is in their wombs? Tell me if you are truthful. This is a question. Allah, you know everything. Are the males forbidden, or the females, or what is in their wombs? What the fuck is this question?
What's the relevance? And this is supposed to be religion.
Yes.
This is supposed to be religion. This is supposed.
Yes.
Well, I can't go on with how gobsmacked I was when I was reading through this.
And then, and 2 camels and cows. And again, ask if the males are forbidden or the females or what is in the wombs. Were you there when... I don't know what it says there. Were you there when... I have no idea what the Quran says. And then it says, deceiving the ignorant is bad because they're not guided. Okay, I wish some Dawah would read this. Deceiving the ignorant is bad. Don't deceive the poor Muslims who really have no clue what it is that you are saying. And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier, that in philosophy, you can use these high-level words as a deceptive tactic. And this is exactly what they're doing. So deceiving the ignorant is bad, and they are doing exactly this. So here the Quran is giving you useful information, useful instructions. Don't deceive the ignorant. It's not their fault. They are not guided, but they're doing it anyway. 145. Don't eat dead meat, spilled blood, or pork, or dirty stuff, or what heard the wrong name. I don't know what heard the wrong name. But if you need to, it's okay. What is the point of this? What is the point of saying, well, you're not allowed to eat dirty stuff, but if you need to, it's okay to eat dirty stuff? So I don't understand what the point of these things are. And then, now it gets really good. Jews are not allowed to eat anything with claws and some fat of cattle and sheep. Now, if I go and look this up, then I see that kosher, according to kashrut is the legal stuff. This is like the fiqh in Islam, from the Torah and then explained in the Talmud. No blood, same as in the Quran. No pigs, same as in the Quran. But then they say shellfish is not allowed. Rabbits, reptiles, not allowed. But then the same as in the Quran, blood must be drained from the meat. So this is similar. Mammals with split hooves are kosher. Only grape juice or wine produced by Jews is okay. So in Judaism, you have also very similar ridiculous commands as for the dietary, laws or rules or whatever is concerned. But in the Quran, it says Jews are not allowed to eat anything with claws. I prohibited Jews from eating anything with claws. No, you didn't. So this is a factual error. If somebody comes up, is there any mistake in the Quran? Yes. I prohibited the Jews from eating anything with claws. Where does it say that? It doesn't. It doesn't say this anywhere. So that's bullshit. Then if they rebel, threaten them. Polytheists say Allah. And now we need to start paying attention, because now we're getting into a very interesting segment here, because it's about polytheists, okay? So polytheists say Allah should have stopped them, like those before them. Do you know anything?
You're on 147 now, aren't you, Stops?
148. 148.
I thought it was interesting in 147. It says that if they accuse you of falsehood, say, your Lord is full of mercy, all embracing. But if from people in guilt, never will his wrath be turned back. Which is interesting, because I thought it was shirk was the only thing that Allah could never forgive. But he's saying something else. He said never. Not my wrath is still upon him until they repent, but never will his wrath be turned back. And how is he speaking from the third person? Never will his wrath be turned back.
Whose wrath?
Who's actually speaking there?
Wow. Thanks for picking that up. Yeah, I looked over that. Okay, now, 148. Polytheists say Allah should have stopped them, like those before them. So in other words, polytheists and are just following what their parents told them, taught them, and showed them, and Allah should have stopped them, like those before them, like the Jews and the Christians. And do they know anything? No. Now, God knows, and He could have guided you had He willed. Again, the same topic. He did not want to, but He could have. And now watch this. Present the witnesses that Allah prohibited this. Okay? And they use the word harama. So it's very clear, present the witnesses that Allah prohibited. So prohibited means harama. Harama is not allow this or command this, but prohibit this. Don't follow their lead. Ignore those who deny the signs and the hereafter, and ignore those who equate others with Allah. So here it is about the prohibition of following the lead of the non-believers. And it is prohibited from following their lead of those who deny the signs of the hereafter and who equate others with Allah. So this is the contents of 150. Now what happens in 151, just read the first part. What is commanded is don't equate others with Allah. What is commanded is be good to parents. And what is commanded is don't kill your children out of property. Out of poverty, not property. Oops, shit, that was my mistake. Poverty. There you go. And then it says, well, look after you, be good, and don't kill those forbidden to kill, and only those that you think should be killed. Now let's take a look at the beginning again. Because it makes sense, and I challenge any Muslim to tell me that this does not make sense. If you say what is commanded is don't equate others with Allah. What is commanded is be good to parents. Is that something that you will find in the Quran in other places? Is this totally coherent with the teachings of Islam? Be good to parents? Is that commanded all over the Quran? Yes. Now, unfortunately, the Quran doesn't say commanded. The Quran says prohibited, harama. So it's the same prohibited. So this is the typical scribal error where the guy saw this is prohibited, and then suddenly it says command. He thinks, no, it must be prohibited that you equate others with Allah. So he changes the commanded to prohibited. And now the Quran says what is prohibited to you, what is haram, is don't. It is prohibited that you don't equate others with Allah. It is prohibited to be good to your parents. And it is prohibited to not kill your children out of poverty. So this is a typical example that nobody can this is foolproof. I remember, who was it? Ahmed, our little Quranist. He went around the block with me on this for an hour, and he could not understand it. That prohibited to be good to your parents is not the way to go. And he was trying to find all sorts of way out, and then he took the way that some other translators or interpreters are going and saying, well, this prohibited is actually what God has made sacred for you. Now, the problem with that is they are changing the grammar of the Quran, because like the prohibited city, Mecca, is the holy city, Mecca. And this is when it's an adjective, you can use it like this. But you can't do it here, as when it's a verb. So what is commanded is a verb. I command you to do something, I prohibit you. And you cannot prohibit someone to not equate others with Allah, which means you must equate others with Allah, because it's a double negative. And this is a mistake that, in my eyes, is also foolproof, because you can't get around it. But you can see how it makes sense, how a scribe who doesn't speak Arabic that well will think, oh, well, okay, here we have prohibited, don't follow this, ignore this, don't equate others with Allah. Ugh, no, it's also prohibited, don't equate others with Allah. So you see the same words, and you don't see the negation in front of it. And you don't realize that if you say prohibited, be good to your parents, that you are creating false contents. This is a stupid mistake. This is a scribal error, a small mistake in the Quran, but it has never been rectified, because people read over it. Every Muslim I know will read over this, and they will say what is prohibited is to equate others with Allah. I mean, we've had Abu here, an ex-Muslim who speaks Arabic, and he read this in Arabic, and he did exactly this. He also read, it is prohibited to equate others with Allah. He didn't see the double negative. So this is what happened. So this is one of the biggest mistakes in the Quran, in my opinion. But then it says, we'll look after you. Okay? Really? If you don't kill your children out of poverty, they will be alive, but you don't have the money to look after them. You don't have the money to feed them. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. We'll look after you. Do you? How many children have died since I started reading this sentence? It must be around 5 or 6. Died. Kids died out of poverty. So we'll look after you is a huge lie. And it says, be good and don't kill those forbidden to kill. Well, don't kill those forbidden to kill. Why is it that only some are forbidden to kill? And why is it that those that you think should be killed may be killed? Come on, what is this? And then don't fleece orphans. Okay, that's good. Yeah.
But
Not we burden.
See, to me, I don't find those good verses when it says something like that, don't fleece orphans. I do not find anything positive in that, in as much that for two things. I don't think there's any period in human history where orphans were fleeced politically or religiously. Only certain individuals would have done that. So for a religious text to say that, stating the obvious, and that's the best that you can say when in other passages you're talking about beating your wife if you fear disobedience. That to me, it just doesn't make sense to be a religious text. That's all. Not
it's true. Yeah, but it's also what blah blah is just saying. Why is it always about killing? Why is it always about killing? Why is the Quran talking about killing so much? If it's such a peaceful religion, where does it come from? Why is it talking killing all the time? If you don't like this, kill. If you don't kill them, I will kill them. But if you kill them, don't worry. This is as though I killed them. It's not on you. I killed them. But this God is constantly killing people. True. But anyway, it says, not we burden any soul. And this is one of the most important sentences in the Quran. Not we burden any soul except to its capacity. So I took this literally because this is quoted all the time by apologists, that there is nothing in Islam that is impossible. Everybody can handle this. Everybody can do this. But be just, even if it's a relative, and fulfill the covenant of Allah. So be just. I don't see people being just. I don't see that at all. Shall I read some more comments here? Like where I'm gaslighting.
The thing is, it talks about being just. You're talking about these things. These are supposed to be religious texts, and Muslims are supposed to abide. Yet you go to the very Muslim nations, and do you see any of these things that we've read tonight implemented?
No, this is the whole problem.
When you look at, say, the land of the kuffar, and you look at just orphans alone, how many NGOs or independent bodies or organizations or entities have been set up to look after orphans? Maybe not to a greater to lesser degree in certain countries, but they stand a far better chance of getting an education, getting a healthcare, getting some kind of accommodation, and some, albeit depending on the individual, some kind of future. But when you look at, say, Muslim-controlled lands, and if you're an orphan there, how fair do you in that climate when the religion is telling its people to do this? They don't fare well. Better you are to be an orphan in the land of the kuffar than it is to be an orphan in the land of the Muslim.
No. Thinking clearly, you said, I found a positive one. I'm a Muslim, but being honest here, the host is biased to shut Fred up, but not Tony and Subur for the same terminology that was used, like silly, blah, 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 and so on. This is true. There are honest Muslims, yeah. And this is always what I'm saying. Most Muslims are better than their God, but unfortunately not all of them. So, but come on. most of these people really, really are making these comments out of ignorance. They don't know better. So I'm not even angry at them because I can't blame them. This is like being angry with a demented person. You can't be. It's not their fault. You know, there's nothing that they can do about their brain being indoctrinated and brainwashed. They can't help it. So I'm trying to get some sense into them, but it's not always easy. But anyway, not we burden any son. If this is on the wall, I remember there is a sentence on the wall of Harvard University. Okay, but there's like, I can't remember. I made a video about this and I forgot the exact numbers because I think there's like 60 or 100 or 200 different sentences from different cultures. You know, from 5,000 years ago to today, all different sentences out of different cultures. So this is just one of them. Okay, yes, Islam is one culture out of many. Yeah, so what? Is the book special? No. It's full of mistakes, full of errors, full of inconsistencies, full of contradictions, full of mistakes, just like any other book and just exactly what you would expect. Is there anything better in here than what you'd expect? No. This is exactly what I think. But it says, don't fleece organs, be just. That's cool. Follow my path, ignore others. Yeah. I am the only one, and you'll be damned if you do. Follow others, I mean. All right. Let's get this out of the way. And with that, fuck, it's already 20 past. Shit. With that, we come to the theme of the month, which is Dawah in action. Now, I've got another short video, which I'm going to try and put in here and hope that this will come up. Here we go. Can you see this? But now this is blocking my screen. Not on YouTube. No, it takes a bit of time there.
Okay.
Anyway, I hope that it comes up. All right. This is a video that I found on MercifulServant. Remember, I saw a couple of videos from different people, and I said that these are the different kinds of Dawah sites that we're going to be looking at. And this happens to be the one that I chose for this, which is regard science as the ultimate truth. In other words, what they're saying is, no, the truth is being hidden. And I'll just start this now, and then I hope that people can just, I think, yeah. Allah, just tell me if you can hear this.
Many people today regard science as the ultimate truth.
I hear it.
Okay. Then what I'm going to do is, if I see somebody typing 111 in the text, in the chat, I will stop. Remember, I have a bit of a delay. And Thunder, if you have anything, then you just go and say stop, and then I will stop this, okay?
Many people today regard science as the ultimate truth. But the fact is, what scientists report as truth today can become completely false tomorrow. There are many examples of this, so let's take a look at a few before we show you how to determine what the truth really is.
Okay, does anybody agree with what is being said here? Exactly you felt in the first sentence. Has anybody spotted the flaw? Thunder, have you spotted it?
Well, I'm not going to participate in this one too much because there are certain things that I've said in the first sentence are actually true. There are certain things that science has concluded as reality in the past, only for them to make a retraction and say we've got that wrong or we've misunderstood that point there. So I'm not going to comment too much on this because otherwise it's just going to be me stopping all the time. I'll rather
okay, but listen to this. Listen to this.
Regard science as the ultimate truth.
Are there any people today who regard science as the ultimate truth?
No, that's not true in itself. Just
exactly.
So just on this as well, I'd like to know in these videos, why is it that they always have to use some kind of voice machine to do the narrative? Why can't somebody like from the Muslim community put this up actually speak themselves and do the narrative or do the dialogue themselves. It seems somewhat synthetic when they do that.
It is,
Anyway,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so nobody regards science as the ultimate truth. Okay.
But the fact is, what scientists report as truth today
Scientists don't report truth. That's not what they do. A scientist reports on the data and the conclusions drawn from this data, which will lead to something that is true. But it's not that, I'm going to tell you and what I tell you is the truth. No, there are also complete assholes among scientists. So don't trust a single opinion of somebody. Always go and double check and always go and look at the data yourself.
can become completely false tomorrow.
No, again, this is also ridiculous. What is true today cannot become completely false tomorrow. If I drop something, I can measure how fast it falls. And this is not going to be completely false. It's not going to suddenly float up to the ceiling. That's not something that is going to happen. The same way as if we measure the time that light takes between the sun and earth, that is not going to be completely false tomorrow. There will be variances. There will be things that, the accuracy is going to increase, but it's not going to be completely false.
There are many examples of this.
No, they are not. So this is only the first sentence, and already everything that they say is completely wrong.
So let's take a look at a few before we show you how to determine what the truth really is.
Determine what the truth really is. How do you determine what the truth really is? You can only compare it to reality. So what they're going to do now is they're going to throw around some red herrings and some strawmen, which nobody thinks that this is A, scientific, and B, something that we should take seriously. These are all ideas that people had before we really started investigating what is going on the planet. So there were a lot of things that people thought 1,000 years ago, which we no longer subscribe to.
Phrenology, now widely considered a pseudoscience. Phrenology was a study of the shape of the skull, as indicative of the strengths of different faculties. Modern scientific research wiped it out by proving that personality traits could not be traced to specific portions of the brain. The blank slate theory, or tabula rasa, widely popularized by John Locke in 1689, proposed that individuals are born without built-in mental content,
I wish I could speed
and
this
that
up
their knowledge
now while
comes
it's
from
running.
experience and perception. Modern
can't.
research suggests that genes and other family traits inherited from birth, along with innate instincts, of course, also play a very important role. Luminiferous ether. The aether, or ether, was a mysterious substance that was thought to transmit light through the universe. The idea of a luminiferous ether was debunked as experiments in the diffraction and refraction of light, and later Einstein's special theory of relativity came along and entirely revolutionized physics. Einstein's static or stationary universe. A static universe, also called a stationary or Einstein universe, was a model proposed by Albert Einstein in 1917. It was problematic from the beginning. Edwin Hubble's discovery of the relationship between redshift obliterated it by completely demonstrating.
Okay, this shows that the person who wrote this is a complete moron. The relationship between redshift. Can anybody tell me what that is? And this was not the static Einstein universe. No. I don't know why they need to do that. Just to bring in the word Einstein and show, no, there's something that was wrong here. Yes, Einstein even said I was wrong here. I had some factor in here, which I put in as a constant, which was wrong. And he corrected it later. And this is the beauty of science. Science must be able to be mistaken. And it must be able to be corrected. This is different than the Quran. You cannot correct the Quran. It will stay like this, even though there are many variants, but in principle, some things stay the same. And this is not the case. So, saying this and using things like when Hubble displayed or something, the relationship between redshift. What?
That the universe is constantly expanding. The Martian Canals. The Martian Canals were a network of gullies that some 19th century scientists erroneously thought to exist on Mars.
No, some scientists did not think that. There are people who said on the photo they look like canals, but nobody else said anything
First
else.
detected in 1877 by Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli. Modern telescopes and imaging technology completely debunked the myth. The canals were actually found to be a mere optical illusion. Phlogiston theory. First postulated in 1667 by German physician Johann Joachim Beecher.
It's Johann Becher. But the thing is, I don't know what the point of this is. This is just to show, okay, number one, science is limited. Number two, science can change. And number three, science is, not reliable. But it can prove the Quran to be correct. It's so funny.
Phlogiston theory is an obsolete scientific theory regarding the existence of phlogiston, a fire-like element, which was contained within combustible bodies and released during combustion. The theory tried to explain burning processes such as combustion and the rusting of metals, which are now jointly termed as oxidation. The expanding or growing Earth. The expanding Earth or growing Earth is a hypothesis suggesting that the position and relative moment of continents is dependent on the volume of the Earth increasing. But modern science has turned down any expansion or contraction of the Earth. Discovery of the planet.
They're challenging the expansion of the Earth, the volume or the mass.
Yeah.
Yet that's the very argument they use to try and prove that a 90-foot atom is real, because they say that the Earth had to expand in its mass, because the gravitational pull was smaller, and therefore that's why Adam's mass was as big as it was.
Yeah.
Which
they would, wouldn't they?
Tear apart. But just on that alone, they're blind. Because they need that theory for 90-foot Adam.
Amazing.
Vulcan, a small planet that was supposed to exist in an orbit between Mercury and the Sun. French mathematician Urbain Jean-Joseph Le Verrier coined the name Vulcan while trying to explain the nature of Mercury's orbit. No such planet was ever discovered, while the orbit of Mercury was explained in detail by Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity.
I thought he was going to end with be great and prosper or something.
Spontaneous or equivocal generation. Spontaneous generation or equivocal generation is an obsolete principle concerning the origin of life from inanimate matter. The hypothesis was brought out by Aristotle, who advocated the work of earlier natural philosophers. It was proven wrong in the 19th century by the experiments of Louis Pasteur, drawing influence from Francesco Redi, who was an early proponent of germ theory and cell theory. These examples are clear evidences that science is not the truth.
How many evidences were these? I don't know how many evidences it takes that show that science is not the truth. I request 25 evidences before I will believe that science is not the truth. Okay, it's true. It's like 25 mistakes in 5 minutes, yeah.
It's just a temporary understanding until humanity can understand things further. If science was the truth, it would never change. But as time goes on, our understanding of the world is constantly changing. And thus, science is the constant change of human perception. And in no way can it ever be defined as truth. In many schools around the world, children are being taught that humans evolved from apes. It is being ingrained within their minds as though it is a known fact. And any child who dares to question this becomes unintelligent.
Oh yes, this is so good. I mean, if you have a fact, what are you supposed to say? If you find something, do you first have to go to the Quran and say, hang on, let me check if this really is a fact? And if it's not in the Quran, it's not a fact? How are you supposed to work? It's quite funny. The Quran doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't mention not even a bicycle. There is nothing in the Quran that is correct. I've challenged Muslims for years now. Bring me one single statement that is correct, verifiably correct. They can't. So now they're saying science is making people unintelligent, as though intelligence is depending on science, as though intelligence is depending on the theory of evolution.
According to our modern worldview, if they answer something else in their exams, they fail, because they haven't accepted this idea as truth. It's not that hard to believe that atheism has become a growing trend in the modern world.
Nothing
when
to
the
do with
world
atheism.
education system is based on the atheistic worldview. A study on leading scientists in the US concluded that 60% of prominent scientists did not believe in God. A 2014 survey by David Chalmers and David Bourget on nearly 1,000 professional philosophers from 99 leading departments of philosophy shows that 72.8% consider themselves as atheists. We
So
send
what's
our
wrong with the
children
other
to be educated by
28%?
systems that teach them that there is no God, while we're too preoccupied working to even...
Nobody is teaching anybody that there is no God. We don't know if there is a God. There might very well be a God. Whether this is in this universe or another universe, we don't know. I'm in no position to say there is no God. I can't say that. I can only say there's no good reason to believe this today. If there will be further evidence, then good for me.
Ask our children what they learned in school. And then, when they switch on their entertainment at home, the majority of films and TV promote that same concept of no God as truth.
Bullshit.
And they are made to feel like fools for believing otherwise.
No.
These entertainment shows make the people of God look illogical, extreme, violent, and uneducated.
Total
Whilst they make the
nonsense.
godless characters the heroes who save the world. This programming of the minds is ongoing and has been happening for many decades. So what is the truth? Many people have made the mistake of comparing science to Islam to confirm to themselves that Islam is true. But they've done it in the wrong way. The correct way is to hold Islam as a truth and use Islam to determine what is true science.
That's right. Even as somebody who holds, say, scripture as truth, the biblical narrative, I don't agree with that. Absolutely not.
Yeah, but it's amazing. Yeah, but it's amazing how they say, well, look, you first need to take the Quran. You first need to go and understand what the Quran says. You first need to accept what the Quran says. And then you go and check what science says. And only if science then corresponds with what the Quran says, then it's the correct science. Any other science is wrong. So in other words, if geology tells you that mountains are created bottom up, no, all geology is wrong. There is nothing in geology that is correct regarding mountains. That's crazy. Hello, Ultra Funky, and you've already been reprimanded. Oh, well done. 2 seconds. Yeah, exactly. No, they are quite... I've already told them, listen, don't do this. If somebody just wants to say hi with some symbols, so what? I mean, if somebody's just constantly going with capitals, okay, I can understand this. But just some symbols...
science and every other aspect of life too.
Every other
Islam
aspect.
has never changed. It is...
Okay, Islam has never changed. That's nonsense. Because if I go and look at what is being propagated today, it is very, very different. Because people no longer keep slaves. People no longer just go and beat their wives. I know that there are countries like Brunei and things which are trying to bring it back. I know that there are countries who are going and saying, yeah, we need the Sharia, we need the Sharia. But at the end of the day, they're not. Because at the end of the day, Islam has changed so much. If I go and look at a video of Iran, sorry, the Islamic Republic of Iran today, just compare this to what it was like 20 years ago. Now, 40 years ago, it was an open society. 20 years ago, it was a closed society. And now if I go and look at it today, I can see that people are rebelling against this. The women are now... They're not wearing the strict chador anymore. No, what they're doing is they're wearing normal clothes and then they put a scarf half over their head. And they are pushing the boundaries every single day. They are no longer concealing hair and neck, what they are supposed to do according to Islam, or according to fiqh, according to the Sharia. They're no longer doing this. They're pushing the boundaries every single day, trying to push the scarf back a little bit more every single week, and that's what they're doing. Sorry, Thana, you said something?
It says that Islam hasn't changed, but I mean, to be honest with you, it depends which one of the 31 plus Qurans you're reading as to which determines the form of Islam that you're actually following. And to suggest that Islam hasn't changed, culture has had an influence on the religion as well. In fact, I've said this many times, culture has had a stronger influence than Islam has in certain quarters, in certain locations, demographically around the world as well. And when it says Islam hasn't changed, it changed within the first 2-3 generations after Muhammad died. That's why you got the Shia and Sunni split. So Islam has changed. It changed the day Muhammad died.
Well, if he existed, yeah. And blah blah. Now hang on. 80 lashes to a tourist for drinking last week. Where was this? Because remember, we had this in the news that Sudan, for example, also gave this up. There's a lot of countries, there's almost all countries who have given this up, who said, no, if you're not a Muslim, you can drink whatever you want. So I took 80 drinks to get lashed last week.
That's a good one.
Yes. Okay, there's the poet coming out in you. And blah blah, Quran might have been preserved. No, unfortunately not. That myth is gone. That's been debunked. That is now dead. It's a dead horse. No Muslim can go and still claim that. That has been completely debunked. And now, what Dr. Brubaker is doing, he's bringing out a video every, I don't know, is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something, and he's showing more and more examples, like photographs of actual photographs of books, of Qurans, which are different in different pieces, different parts of the world. So no, because you said the Quran might have been preserved, but not the underlying dictionary. The Quran itself has changed. This is the point that I'm trying to make. So I did read what you wrote in its entirety, but the first part this is what I was objecting to. So you need to change the dictionary meaning of something and the next changes meaning. Yeah, but then on top of everything else. So I'm not correcting you. I'm saying this for others who might think that what you are saying is that the Quran was the same over time. No. So I read the faults. Yes. I'm not going after you. I'm just making sure that everybody understands what we're talking about. If we're saying that it might have been preserved and if you change the dictionary, you change the contents. I understand that. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't that clear as well.
Has remained true since day one. And as we have proven already, science is changing all the time.
Okay. This is also a tactic that you see with Muslims a lot. They say, well, I've proven it. No, all they've done, they've said it, they've claimed it. So there's no reason to say, oh, you've already proven it. No. So number one, you haven't proven it. And number two, repeating a false claim does not make it true.
So if you regard science as truth and follow it until your last breath,
you can't. You see, this is typical Islamic thinking, following. You need to follow your favorite scholar and take all the meaning from the scholar. We don't do that. You cannot follow science. You don't. You either accept the facts or you don't. So if you doubt that gravity exists or that it's 9.81 meters per second squared, well, go ahead and measure it. So you are welcome to challenge anything in science. You're welcome to do so. And if you find something wrong with the facts, well, then maybe somebody is going to listen and change it, and maybe you're going to have a huge impact. But the point is that there is nothing set in stone, except that if you come and say, well, I don't like evolution because my God tells me that I'm not allowed to. That's nonsense. You have to come with facts. Nobody says that evolution is true and is anything. It's built on facts. And because it is built on facts and because it has been demonstrated so many times and it's been substantiated so many times, and there has never been any serious contention with this, we're now saying, look, it is a fact. Stop, whining and just go and accept it. And a lot of theists do. I mean, a lot of Christians go and say, yeah, we accept evolution. We are not going to the literal understanding that Adam and Eve were created out of nothing or out of a rib or something like that. So
you're putting your faith and trust in something that has been proven false or changed many times.
False.
The Quran has never been proven false.
I mean, how can you say that? How can you say that? There is nothing correct in the Quran, and they say it has never been proven false. You cannot say that today in 2020, or I don't know when this was made, 2019, I don't know. It is, and this is now a lie. It is the intentional deception of people with things that definitely you are aware are false. Everybody knows that this statement is not true, that there are millions of examples of people have shown where the Quran is wrong. And that's it.
It is impossible. It has educated and enlightened the world with clear scientific facts,
Nope.
which will always remain true.
Nope.
It has taught us events and stories of
Nope.
the past, present,
Nope.
and future.
No.
If you follow the guidance within this Quran, you will transform into the best human being
The best human being. So if that's true, can you show me one society on this earth that has got a Muslim population where they are a demonstration of being the best human beings on earth?
Yeah. I don't know.
Islam and the Quran has proven to be the very source of turning human beings into the worst human beings on earth.
Yeah, exactly.
you could ever be. And a result of that transformation will be true success in this world and the next.
And what exactly is the true success? What is it? They never tell you this. I mean, even the Quran says those will be the successful and those will be the losers. But it doesn't say what the criteria are.
But on that, if you're not successful, surely that's a test from Allah. You're being.
Oh, yeah, this is so funny. I don't know why people take this serious, really. And this merciful servant, I mean, we saw he has, I don't know, 3.3 something million subscribers. And Muslims always say, go to him, there's nothing that has ever been refuted and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if the rest is now just recitation or... Okay, we can stop this then, because the rest is just nonsense. Now I just need to find my way back to the original page so I can stop this. Here we go. All right. Alhamdulillah. This is painful because they only have very little contents, and then the rest is what hijab always does. And that's just la 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 la. Why so religious? Welcome. Proof that the Shahaba said different Sahaba. You mean? Said different Arabic words for certain verses. Yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, the funny thing is that the Sunnah itself says that a guy said, well, when he said Allah is the best of the creators, and he says, oh, I like that. I'll put that into the Quran, and the guy says, well, why should I be punished because I'm handicapped and I cannot participate in the war? Oh, okay, yeah, I need to change that. So the Sunnah itself gives you examples showing how the Quran is man-made, how people created the Quran. So, okay, this is just bullshit. I will now go to, because, okay, any questions, any comments, anything else, because now we have some time. I'm pleasantly surprised because I thought we spent far too much time on the beginning segment. Now it turns out this is quite good. Any questions, any comments, anything now, because we have 10 minutes that we can just spend yakking. No, it must have been a weak hadith. It is like that. As soon as it goes, because everything else is authentic, but then as soon as when you show that it's bullshit, no, then it's not, then it's weak. Yeah, it's quite funny how they always say, like Rashid, this Adnan guy, also says, yeah, we should promote the hadith to the level of scripture, and then you say, yeah, but then Muhammad married a 6-year-old. No, that not that part. That is not part of the whole deal.
But you need to see what Adnan says there was pretty much what has been said time and again, that Islam stands on 2 legs. The Quran is one leg and the Hadith is the other leg. You can't have one without the other. Anybody who tries to do that is either a fake Muslim or is being dishonest with Islam. So Adnan's got a point there, but the thing is, you see, you'll just find that just going to open another can of worms, because they'll just start arguing as to, when you're mentioning, for instance, 6-year-old Aisha and then 9-year-old when she's penetrated, or if a fly lands in your soup, or Satan sleeps in the noses or urinates in the ears, and then you've got the stone that ran away with Moses' clothing. Then where's your cut-off point in all of this? Because the thing is, you see, those are all in Bukhari. Bukhari is taken as solid as the Quran is, to be fair. What level are they going to release it at? So this is my challenge to them.
And this is the thing, thinking clearly. They should demote the Quran to the level of the Hadith. Exactly. A daif. Okay. Can you discuss 9111? What is 9111? 9111. I can't, from the top of my head, I don't know what it is. Any thoughts on the Turkish-Egyptian war looming in Libya? Is it really? Because for me, okay, Erdogan is trying to expand his influence. But is he going to go against Egypt? I don't think so. I think he's too weak for that. I don't know. I don't have any thoughts on that. No. I don't have the information necessary to have a thought on that.
To me, it's just saber rattling for the sake of image.
Could be. It could. Well, you see, this is just speculation. We don't really know. It's about Allah borrowing from the believers. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is where Allah says, if you give me something, I need to borrow from you, and I will repay you, or something. Erdogan wants to restore the Ottoman Empire. Yeah, he'd like that. He'd like that very much, I think, because he's also like Trump. Yes, I saw this brilliant. Can I find this quickly? Because I saw this brilliant caricature of Trump, which was really great. You talk to people while I quickly find this.
Yes. I had a train of thought.
Sorry, did I check you the deep end?
Yeah, so from my perspective, as far as Erdogan is concerned, to me it's just image saber rattling on the backdrop of the museum that is now returned back into a mosque. I think he's just playing on that at the moment, just for his own image. And it kind of like galvanizes as well in a world now that's been critical of Islam in certain areas. It kind of galvanizes the Muslim world as well. See, we don't know how much of that is just all like not just political posturing, but like an underlying way of trying to garnish and galvanize the Muslim world in some way or another, considering how fragmented it's becoming because of the revelations that are coming up about Islam. Islam has got to take a stand in some kind of way as a bulwark to all the criticisms it's receiving at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if things like that are going on at the moment. I mean, I've noticed that in America, a lot of is it CARE in America that have aligned themselves with the BLM, which I found kind of like particularly, why would the BLM have anything to do with CARE, considering that how racist Islam is?
Well, come on, it disrupts society. That's all they want, and they don't care. Anybody who goes with them is against the establishment, and that's what they want. So, yeah.
Okay. I know that. Right.
So let me just quickly read this from Sahih International. Allah has purchased from the believers their lives and their properties for what they will have paradise. Okay. They fight in the cause of Allah, so they kill and are killed. Okay. True promise upon him in the Torah and the Gospel and the Quran. And who is a truer to his covenant than Allah? So rejoice in your transaction which you have contracted, and is that which is the great attainment. Okay, that's the whitewashed version. Let me go to Yusuf Ali. Allah hath purchased of the believers their persons and their goods, for theirs is the garden of paradise. They fight in his cause, and they slay and are slain. No, they slay and are slain. A promise binding on him in truth through the law, the gospel, and the Quran. And who is more faithful to his covenant than Allah? Then rejoice in the bargain which you have concluded. That is the achievement supreme. So you make a pledge that you kill and get killed, and for this you get heaven. So the puzzling part is the first part is Allah has bought from the believers their persons. Why does he buy their person and their property? If he has given the people their lives and their property and all the sustenance in the first place. So this is one of the unknown mysteries of Allah. Allah, come on, justify yourself.
How can I There's nothing really I've got to say on that. It is what it is. You just have to take it. I'm Allah knows best. I know best.
Yeah, but what is okay? But do you have any kind of explanation? What could be? Well, hang on. Let me just go to the tafsir and see. This is the corpus. I need to find this in 911. Okay, you can see I was not ready for this question, so I have not prepared anything. So I just need to go here and then press on tafsirs. So what do they say? Allah hath bought from the believers who are sincere their lives and their wealth. Okay, so Ibn Abbas just repeats it. Surely God has bought from the faithful their souls and their possessions. He also goes into this physical buying. Indeed, God has purchased from the believers their life and their possessions. So they all say, indeed, God has purchased from the believers. Allah has purchased. Even Ibn Kathir says, Allah has purchased the souls. All right, Maududi, in this verse, that aspect of the Islamic faith determines the nature of the relationship between Allah has been called a transaction. He explains this. So he does not go for this buying. He says this is not literal. This is called a transaction. This means that faith is not merely a metaphysical conception, but is in fact a contract by which the servant sells his life and possessions to Allah, and in return for this accepts his promise that he would give him the garden and the life and so on. So what he is saying is, this is the covenant. This is the covenant that you have with Allah, even though you were not there, Allah was not there, nobody was there when this covenant was being signed. So I don't know what this is.
So it's a trade-off then. I've done all this for you, now you owe me your soul.
Yeah, but it's artificial because it's saying, well, you owe me so much because look what I've done for you. Well, what have you done for me? Zilch?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a bit like a deal with the devil then, yeah?
Yeah, and then God says, yeah, but if you don't do that, then you have made a deal with the devil. Even if I don't have a deal with you, I still have a deal with the devil. Yeah, great. Okay, then let me write something here to see what this looks like. Comment on my video. People can go there. Yes, it comes up as Fred Manning. Brilliant. Oh boy, this is so funny. All right, guys. Let me proceed to the hadith of the week. I've had fun today. This was a nice show, and nice, pleasant, smooth sailing with a nice video, which was really brilliant, I thought. Listen, Thunder, if you have a video next week we're going to have a lecture on the Shias, which I think is going to be incredibly interesting. So I'm hoping this will come through. I'm hoping that this is working, but it sounded quite keen, so I'm positive this is going to work. So it's brilliant. Okay, we are looking at Bukhari. We are looking at volume 2. We are looking at book 21, and the hadith number is 245, and it was narrated not by Abu Huraira, but Abdullah, you Abdul. and this is exactly what Thunderous, what Allah was. Allah, you know everything. You knew I was going to come up with this hadith. I mean, think of the coincidence. There can't be a coincidence between you mentioning this only half an hour ago and me now coming up with this exact very hadith that you were mentioning earlier on.
AKB, Allah knows best.
Allah knows best. And by the way, if this is not, I'm not doing, I'm so used to Rob pulling the strings and he's so good at this. Number one, please give us a thumbs up and let others, especially Muslims, know of the show. Because if we get some more thumbs up, then the rating in YouTube goes up and it's more likely to be shown next to something. Because we have so few viewers, it doesn't get much attention. And of course, if this is not enough Islam, for you, then join us on the Discord. And Dave was kind enough to put the link there so that you don't have to copy what is on the screen, but you could just go and click on this. So there you go. So the hadith that this is quite funny. But really, you mentioned this half an hour ago, and it's quite funny that I have picked this exact hadith. A person was mentioned before the Prophet, and he was told that he had kept on sleeping until morning and had not got up for the prayer. So the prophet said, Satan urinated in his ears. Is that coincidence or what? Allah mentioned it half an hour ago, and here it is. Here is the very, very hadith that Allah was mentioning just a few minutes ago. Ladies and gents, if this is not proof, what is? Any closing words from you? Allah, the greatest, the one and only God.
All I can say is, first of all, let me apologise for my comments earlier. I was being facetious. I don't know why. Bad day, bad rock, probably. But thank you, everybody. I've enjoyed tonight's show. I've enjoyed the discussion that we've had this week, and I'm particularly looking forward to the guest that we have next week with reference to the Shia history. So, yeah, speak to everybody next week. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you to the chat. It's been great that you were here. It's always fun to see the live comments. It's always nice to have some sort of interaction, that you're not just talking to the void, but you're actually listening. There's people out there and that you can interact with. This is really great. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Good night. And if you want to, you can join us on Discord. Good night. See you next Friday.